Hi everybody, it's Nick from CreatiVertical. Today I'm going to show you the difference between a bleed and non-bleed printed document. Okay, so getting started. This area here is a safe area. When they say safe area, what we're trying to say is that if you have text or logos within this area and you're on a full bleed document, you should be fine. You don't have to worry about text being cut from this line, whereas if you have it closer to the trim edge, the black area where the trim of the document will be, there's possibility that some of this could be trimmed out. The cutting machines on presses aren't perfect, so that's why we call it a safe area here. This red area is the bleed area. So when we trim a document after it comes off the press, we need to trim it so that all the pages are uniform. So if we have like a background image or a solid color background, we want this area to be outside of the trim area. Otherwise, if you have just the background go to the edge, depending on where the trim area is, you might have a little white area along the edge of the page. So by adding the bleed area, we make it so it makes sure it bleeds off the page, which is where the term comes from. So here's an example of artwork, and we'll just overlay it over this ad here so we can see, compare whether or not it bleeds correctly. And right away you can see the TripAdvisor logo sort of goes into the trim area, but I would say it's a far enough distance and it's not critical information that it's less likely that it's going to be trimmed anyway. If I were the designer, I would have moved this so that the edge of the circle here would be actually within the trim area, but you can see everything else is pretty much fine. So in terms of whether or not this ad is would be accepted, it would absolutely be accepted. There's other examples that I could show you. This one, for example, was sent, and to me this looks like it's clearly a sized for an 8.5 by 11 magazine. So I can check that real quick. Let's see. Yep, 8.5 by 11. So when somebody sends an 8.5 by 11, this is what happens when you fit it into what this size is, which is a booklet size, 5.5 by 8.5 trim. So what will happen is, as we try to resize, what will end up is you'll have a bunch of empty space on the top and bottom. So you can see this doesn't take up the full space of a full page ad, and if we expand it to the point that it will, we'll lose critical information. It'll get trimmed out. So you can see this logo would get trimmed out. The black line is the trim, and you got text on this side as well that would be trimmed out, especially the M. So this ad would get rejected. So I hope that helps explain how a bleed area works, why we use it, why it's important to properly bleed your artwork. It makes life easier for the printers, and you'll be much happier with the result. So thanks, bye.